Good morning, esteemed viewer. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome once again to another wonderful Monday morning on This Morning on ITV, where, of course, we get to take a deep dive into all of the issues that are shaping Nigeria's social and political space, both political, both economic, whatever is the conversation. We're bringing you fresh perspectives here on the program. I am Chuku from Nanya Digwe, and of course I am one of your anchors right here in our Benin studio. Just to remind you, we do this across 3 centers here in Benin, Lagos and Abuja, where we bring a lot of talk, a lot of consequence, and we unpack all of the issues that are shaping these stories and these headlines right here in Nigeria and even globally. Here in Benin, I'm not alone. I'm joined by the beautiful Anu Oluwapo Stevens. Good morning to you, Anu. How was your weekend and how are you firing up for Monday?
Good morning, amazing Chukwufunaya. I'm great. My weekend was amazing. How was your weekend?
It was restful, and it's just great to be on set again doing what I love.
Absolutely. Well, as regards the touring here in Nigeria, it was actually a busy weekend as always, especially, you know, emanating from insecurity, which has become a front burner right now, and I'm sure we'll delve right into it during the course of the show.
Definitely we will. Something that was very consequential, though, if I should just mention, that happened just yesterday is one particular program from the itinerary of events that are marking Democracy Day. We had on June 7 the National Interdenominational Church Service, and today we're going to be having, today June 9 is going to be the Democracy Day public lecture. Tomorrow is going to be that. But yesterday we had, yes, the National Interdenominational Church Service on June 7, where we had a lot of, you know, talk from the presidency, the government, about this same insecurity issue. And one thing that has been spotlighted when you talk about insecurity in Nigeria over the weekend was the abduction and subsequent rescue of the former power minister's sister and her twin boys, her 12-year-old twin boys. Yes, this particular story has taken a lot of our conversations in our social media space and spaces right here visually by storm. People are talking, they were kidnapped, still the same insecurity, and they were rescued in 72 hours. Happening same Oyo State in Ibadan. So there's a lot of conversation about the also kidnapped pupils and teachers in the same Oyo State. There's a bias also, people saying, why did that the rescue of the former minister's family members happen so speedily, and you still have the rescue of the kids and the pupils and teachers being dragged. So yeah, there's a lot of conversation around that, Anu, but what do you think?
Absolutely. That's pretty much laying emphasis to the week that was. We saw that trended over the weekend on the social media streets, and it says a lot. But I actually feel the conversation regarding insecurity sadly has come to stay, and it's really disheartening to see every single time that when you look at the front pages of the newspaper, mainstream media, and even on social media, the issue regarding insecurity you know, emanates every single time. So we were here when we had the news that the former Minister of Power's sister and her twin children, who happens to be 12 years, Peter and Paul, got kidnapped. And, you know, within the space of barely 3 days after, we saw that the police went there, and we also heard rumors, or rumor had it, that Sunday Igboho had an hand in it in, you know, facilitating the rescue of the victims, even though the police force had to, you know, debunk that news. And yeah, a lot of Nigerians reacting to it, saying, okay, so is it a case of because it's someone in power and has all of that, you know, amazing, beautiful structure, that's why the speed was on to secure their rescue? And what about those other children in Oyo State, 46 children who have been in captivity since the 15th of May 2026. And also the one that also happened same day in Borno State. Why is it also not trending? What really is the issue here? Over the weekend, we saw the Minister of Work, Dave Umahi, who was so vocal about what is going on in the country. And he says, and he pleaded with Nigerians not to politicize the situation. But I think we've moved past politicizing the situation because it is something that is happening in our faces, in our everyday life, and it's really affecting us mentally, emotionally, and also, you know, other area globally as well. The issue regarding state policing was also the front runner. The issue regarding the 1,000 forest guards being, you know, talked about by President and the delegation he sent to Oyo State was there. But needs to say that this is not the first time our president was even talking about the forest guards. 2 years ago, he highlighted the same thing. But did we see that happen is the question. I feel like what goes on in Nigeria is medicine after death, a situation where we are more reactive other than being proactive, and this is where we are. And now we're hearing talks about security being everybody's business and how you have to protect yourself and all of that. But it's a sad one at the end of the day.
Definitely, it is a sad one, and these are all of the issues that we've seen per time characterize Nigeria's security architecture. Yes, just over the weekend, we saw that the Nigeria Police Force has rescued Mrs. Olaide Busayo Adegoke, John Paul, and her 12-year-old twin sons, Peter and Paul, alive during a rescue operation carried out around 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. A lot of people have drawn a contrast between that and the Oyo State kidnapping and how those 45 teachers and pupils are still in captivity. Really, it is a lot, and it's a lot of talk from the citizens and netizens, and it's also a lot of talk from the government of the day. We have Abuja correspondent right now, Joseph Kadiri. He is standing by to also take a dive on this conversation. We also have in Lagos, Patricia Gabriels. But first of all, good morning to you, Joseph. How is Abuja, and what are your takes on the security situation so far? All right, a bit of a glitch there. Let's move over to Patricia. Good morning. So good to see you looking so radiant. How was your weekend? And how's Lagos? Tell me.
Good morning, Chukwufunanya. Lagos is so beautiful this Monday morning. Thank you for having me this morning. Okay, we're looking at the security issues in Nigeria, and a lot has been happening in Nigeria concerning the security issues. And you brought about the former minister of power. The sister was kidnapped and the twin boys. And, you know, within some hours they were rescued. What happens to the other children also kidnapped in the same Oyo, the same Nigeria? Every tongue is asking the same question that you and I are asking. And then some people on the social media floor says they think it is staged. They just staged it to say that, okay, upper people too are also being kidnapped. But if it's staged, why now saying they are rescued and leaving the other people out there in the bush, the other students and the principal and teachers who are there? They don't have a 2-year-old girl still in that forest. Anyways, a lot of things are going on in security right now in Nigeria, and trust me, Chukwufunanya, I don't think it's becoming funny. Just like you said, a lot of kidnaps has happened in Oyo, but why select that you can rescue immediately? Why won't you also rescue the other people? That's my take here, Chukwufunanya.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Just to respond to something that you said, I did a bit of research, and let me put it forward. People often assume bias, especially when it comes to high-profile kidnapping, something connected to the government. But there's a lot of conversation, and people are saying that the reason why the rescue of these children and their mother, even when they are related to the former power minister, might have been so speedy could be one, location and mobility of kidnappers. Now, high-profile kidnappings in urban, peri-urban areas like Ibadan are quickly possible to track. So that's one thing that has been said per time. Let's also have your take and get to know how you're doing, Joseph. Good morning to you.
All right, a very good morning, Chuku from Naya. Good morning, Patricia, Abuja. Good morning, Nigerians. Welcome to this morning on ITV. Well, the cheering news from the northeast and the southwest, it's something that is worthy of commendation by the security agencies that actually carried those dual operations out. Of course, the Nigerian Army in the northeast and the IGP rescue team in the southwest. Right, for those in the northeast, you know that, I mean, it's close to 2 decades now that axis has been bedeviled with wave of insecurity, terrorism, kidnapping for ransom, and the list is endless. And when that happens, it comes with very heavy malnutrition because people no longer have access to their farms, and when there is decrease in food production, it affects, you know, our consumption of food, and that's why for some time we've seen the high level of malnutrition leading to about 2.5 million children that are severely, acutely malnourished. Now, for what has happened yesterday, I mean, we should give credit to, well, the Nigerian Army and those involved in it. If it's possible, you can even commend the President, Bola Tinubu, for providing the resources to do that, because it requires both human, financial, and other resources that we may not know. And 360 women and children in the den of terrorists being rescued. It's something that we can say, well, this has happened, it's a good thing. Can we also have it sustained? Can it be replicated in other axes, in Niger State, in Plateau State, you know, some part of Southwest where, you know, this wave is coming up now? Because before now, it was only in the Northeast, but recently in North Central, in Southwest, the news is there. So what happened? How was this done? What were the factors responsible for this rescue? Can it be sustained? If it is, can it be replicated in other, you know, axes? A good one that we saw, I've seen that video, I'm sure that you have also seen that video, how the police actually busted, you know, into the den of those holding the former Minister of Labor's, Minister of Power's sister and her children, you know, in captive. And we saw that even those that are in the ceiling were also brought down and were arrested. All these are cheering news, but what Nigerians want to see is that it should be sustained and replicated in other axes. This is something that we'll continue to talk about. This may be some kind of point scored. You know, 2027 is just by the corner. This may be used as also part of campaign. Whatever what may become of it, we do not want our citizens to be kidnapped when we have the resources to foil it. So, Chukwufunaya.
Joseph, for letting us in on your disposition on that. Well, for many Nigerians, the question remains the same. When will this spate of insecurity in Nigeria be put to an end? Well, you're still watching This Morning on ITV. We'll take a short break, after which we'll have the newspaper review segment. Our guest reviewer and HOD Mass Communication Department, University of Benin, Dr. Dan Eherefo, is standing by to join us. Join us again.
the man went out to bring in thugs to come and beat her.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, do you think women would have seen that and still want to speak?
Really, we're talking
That's
about.
what I said. So
that's-
when they bullied her,
Yeah.
now, if she's not bold enough, she will shut up.
What is your advice for girls out there that are so desperate to be married?
We women, we have to be really intentional about our parenting.
If you know a child is being abused, or you see signs, a bruise or a child, it has to be investigated.
People barely even breathe when they are going for a shrebi and something.
Party.
You have to be
They can't
smart.
sit
If
down.
you see when they are dressing them up and dragging on both sides, you cannot you cannot breathe.
That's for
And these
fact.
women will stay in those events for hours just to keep up with that beauty trend.
Is that healthy?
That's not healthy.
I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels, and we're reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio. Of course, Women in Conversation is a program designed for women to discuss about themselves.
ITV, certainly the best.
To TMI on ITV. We're still live in our Benin studio, and right now I welcome two very distinguished fellows. First we have Dr. Dan Ekerafo, who is our guest reviewer and HOD Mass Communication Department. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you. We also have veteran broadcaster and my boss, Dr. Sunny Duke Okosun. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Anu. Good morning, Chukwufunaya. Good morning, and it's a delight to be with you on the show today. And I also have to appreciate Dr. Dan Ekhara for Associate Professor of Mass Communication. A lovely conversation you guys started out with this morning on what has happened, your state, and it's still happening. And the conversation has changed all of a sudden to, because the lady and the children kidnapped, they are related to a high-profile personality. They will rescue so easily. Meanwhile, the school children and the teachers, they are still in the forest. Anyway, we'll look at all of that. I know Dr. Dan is eager to say something of that. But something big and huge is happening today on the ITV platform. It's the former unveiling of a veteran broadcaster, veteran film producer, someone who has been into several things with panache, with excellence, with outstanding performance, and is now a part and parcel of the ITV and radio family. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome from our Benin studio, the one and only His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Victor Ohai, who is joining us from our Lagos Network studio. Dr. Victor Ohai, it's a delight to welcome you to the ITV and radio family. Good morning, welcome on board the show.
Good morning. Thank you so very much. It is a pleasure to be a part of what in the following days, months, and years will be a bigger, a better, and how do I put it now? An ITV that will change the face of broadcasting, not only in Benin, but in Nigeria.
You're welcome, Doctor. It's good to have you here with us as a family. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so much to talk about today. While you're there already, Dr. Victor Ohai, you also have another of your very good friend here, the HAD Mass Communication Department, Dr. Dan Ekhara. I'm sure you're delighted to see him. Dr. Dan, say hi to Dr. Ohai.
Dr. Ohai, good morning this morning. Your last visit to Benin, I was thinking we were going to meet. Unfortunately, I was engaged somewhere. It's a pleasure to have you on ITV program this morning.
Okay, let's move on. I'm sure. Okay, yes, we can hear you now. Yes, Dr. Ohai, we can hear you.
No, it's such a great pleasure to see Dr. Dan virtually there, very good friend of mine, and is someone I love and have a lot of respect for. Dr. Dan, good to see you.
Happy to see you too.
Pleasure.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Let's kickstart the conversation with the papers segment. We have veterans now who is going to give us insights into all that is happening on the papers review segment. So Chukwufunaya, let's get started, yeah?
All right, kickstarting the newspaper review segment, we start with the Daily Independent. That's our first point of call. Now, Daily Independent headlines there: how Middle East crisis is driving up inflation costs in Nigeria. That's a major headline on Daily Independent. In more stories, it says, court declares NAS 110 billion naira vehicle allowance schemes unlawful. Also on Daily Independent, troops rescue 360 abducted women and children in Guza. Moving away from that, we see on page 29, Atiku mocks Babachir Lawal over alleged failed ADC primary rigging plot. Also on Daily Independent, but this time on page 7, Tinubu intensifying efforts to ease economic hardship through service, George Akume. And it goes on to say it vows federal government won't bow to terrorists and bandits. Away from that, $25 billion Nigeria-Morocco gas pipeline faces financial and security hurdles. Another story right there on that paper says PDP BOT sues INEC, demands recognition of Tanimu Turaki-led NWC. That story is on page 6. And now finally on Daily Independent. Police arrest 4 suspects linked to abduction of Adelabu's sister. That story is on page 29. Over to you, Dr. Dan. Let's have your insights.
Well, our country is import dependent. So if you look at the rising cost of inflation in Nigeria in terms of food prices, economic goods, and other sources of livelihood for Nigerians, the reason why things keep going on is the fact that we depend largely on importation. The level of production within the country is low. So if you are import dependent, there is a global crisis. The implication is that we have a trickle effect on you. That is one of the reasons why inflation seems to be going higher. The other headline about the rescue of Adelabu's sister, well, the arguments are neither here nor there. What is important is that those rescued, those kidnapped have been rescued. Whether it is because he's a sister to a rich man is not here or there. Because if you suffer kidnapping in any form, the psychological effect is always very high. What I would urge Nigerians to do is to first commend the security agencies for responding to this case, and to urge them that the same spirit they use in rescuing their Adelabu sister should be deployed in other cases. Unfortunately, what is common in our climb here is that sometimes when kidnapping cases are reported, the police authorities will tell you we don't have fear, we don't have necessary logistics to mobilize. So probably the logistics were provided that gave birth to the earlier rescue of these ones. It's a challenge of the security agencies that if indeed they were able to do this, it means in other cases, if the right synergy is formed, we can get the same level of response for other cases of kidnapping in Nigeria. Is an encouragement to the police to act right. On the court ruling regarding the mass acquisition of vehicles and all the rest, it has always been a subject of litigation. Why would the legislature make laws? They not perform executive functions. You award projects. What the executive arm of government does is what the legislative arm is still doing. That is not the spirit of constitutional democracy. The executive ought to be the ones in charge of basic executive functions. But what you see is that because of this tendency for compromise, the executive arm allows the legislative arm to do their bidding. But if you look at it in relation to the judiciary, the government has not been very sincere in letting the judiciary do what the legislatures are doing. You see approved budget for them, even though we have talked about legislative or judicial independence in our country. It has not really worked. But on the part of the legislature, in some states, they now have freedom, or what they call independence. At the national assembly, they have independence. So the legislature now make laws, they now execute. What is the function of the executive? For taking that case to court and the judgment is given, it's a sign that if the executive wants this tendency to stop, they should be ready to do what is right so that they can also act as check on the tendency of the legislature to veer into their function. That is what I will say with reference to that headline.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Dan. Let's look at our next paper for review. The Daily Sun is our next port of call. On the front page, it says, government won't surrender to terrorists, bandits, says Tinubu. The writer says, recent attacks, abductions are painful reminders that more work remains to be done. All right, and still on the Daily Sun, opposition reps close ranks to challenge Tinubu's legislative agenda. House leadership not involved in minority caucus crisis, according to the spokesman. Xenophobic attacks, FG to airlift over 500 Nigerians from South Africa. You want more on these stories? Get a copy of the Daily Sun. Still on the Daily Sun, on page 25 it says, FG's cross appeal undermines Kanu's sentencing, says IPOB. Katsina government raises hope on rescue of abducted General Rabe and, of course, his wife. Hospital patients lament shortage of staff, drugs in Ondo, Osun, and Ekiti. PDP crisis, Wabara, Babangida, Aliyu, Jerry Gana, others sue INEC, seek recognition. You find that story on page 6. Let's quickly head up to Lagos. Let's get Dr. Hai's inputs and insights into these headlines. Dr. Hai, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I want to start with the story of government not surrendering to terrorists. We've had a lot of rhetorics. I think it's not about saying that they do not want to surrender. What is most important is what is being done. How much are we tolerating the terrorists, which seems to be the case all this while. It's no longer time to talk. We have generals in captivity, like we saw the case of Rabiu there, and we see a lot of kidnappings every day, and we hear about people who are in kidnappers. I mean, we see images online of kidnappers boldly showing off money, showing off arms, and nothing is happening. I think we need to move from rhetoric to action. And then on the list of our citizens from South Africa, I think that it is time that it's all well and good, but this is something we've done over and over and over again. What needs to be done right now is for, I think, the president to be able to take leadership at the AU level, along with his brother presidents, to see how they can address or call to order the president of South Africa so they can address these issues once and for all. I mean, for how long can you keep airlifting many of these immigrants? And there's a need for the South Africans to strengthen their inner immigration and policing strategies to ensure that if there are illegal immigrants, as soon as visas are expiring, they're moving them out. So that you don't get cases of people, too many of them, people being targeted, both the innocent and those that are not guilty. On the issue of the general, it's a shame. This never used to happen. We have an army that has been to Liberia, to Sierra Leone, and they've been involved in peacekeeping across the continent. And, you know, when a general is captured, it doesn't speak well at all. And for them to remain in captivity for so long, for any, even military personnel, I'm not even talking about civilians, to remain in captivity for so long, speaks a lot about our communication in this country. It speaks a lot about our sincerity about the fight against terrorism. But it is what it is, and we'll have to wait and see. On the final note, on the issue of the House of Reps and what the opposition party is planning to do, it is unfortunate that many of them kept quiet until now, compromised, probably because of the perks of office. They forgot to play the role of opposition in the National Assembly, and now that what is happening is posing an existential threat to their very existence coming back to power, they now appear to be fighting. All I can say is I wish them well, but they must remember, whether you are in the opposition or in the ruling party, that you owe a duty to people who have voted you there. First of all, if you go there shouting on your mandate, at the end of the day, you're going to be a victim of that same mandate.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hai, for those useful insight. Dr. Dan, do you want to quickly lap up on that before we take our next paper?
I will speak on General Rabe's case. If you observe clearly, there is a recurring cases of attack on military bases. I have been asking yesterday when I reflected on the recent attack in Borno, I was asking this question: is it that the military authorities are not thinking right? since the terrorists are targeting your bases every now and then, is it not right that you re-strategize on how to protect your bases from bandits' attack? The case of General Rabe and the wife speaks volume of even the attitude of those at the helm of affairs in the military cycle to professionalism and the what you call esprit de corps. I know even when you retire from the Army, Air Force or Navy, for those who are at that level of rank, there is what you call a strong sense of camaraderie among the military authorities. There is a need for those in authority now to think about tomorrow. Today is Rabe's turn. Tomorrow we don't know whether even the general that will retire or the chief that will retire will be the victim. They need to do something about it.
Okay. Now let's turn our attention over to the New Telegraph newspaper this morning, leading with insecurity. Apparently it says, Tinubu to Nigerians, the major headline, federal government won't surrender to terrorist bandits. Subwriter says June 12 hero sacrifices should inspire building a greater nation, urges youth to resist being used for thuggery, violence, others at campaigns. Akpabio, prayer saved Nigeria's democracy, faith will sustain it. PFN urges Christians to match prayers, fasting with action, get PVC. Lawyers Southwest can disagree on state of emergency on insecurity. All of this and more on page 2, 4, 14, 16, and 28 of the New Telegraph this morning. Well, other major headlines that we haven't touched on this table: court declares National Assembly 110 billion naira SUV allowance schemes unlawful. Subwriter says reps recover 521 million naira withheld VAT from CBN on page 4, 5, and 15. Abductions, NAF deploys surveillance aircraft to track Orirere victims. Subwriter says Katsina government intensifies effort to rescue general wife, others. Bandits kill 4 abduct travelers in Zamfara attacks. Army group claim credit for release of 416 women, children in Goza. Well, that's all for the New Telegraph this morning.
Dr. Dan, let's start off with you.
Yes, I will start with the last story about the rescue of over 400-something women by the military authorities. We should not always sit down to condemn those in authorities for not doing
the needful.
But where a heroic act has been done, there is a need for us to commend them. So for the military authorities that galvanized the rescue of those women, we want to say a big thank you to them. They succeeded in restoring hope to the families of those individuals who were kidnapped in the past. Having said that, NAF, the Nigeria Air Force deploying their surveillance jets over Owerri is a welcome development. But like we have said here before, why would the military always wait for incidents of this nature before actions are taken? What we expect from those in authorities to do a geographical mapping of our country with reference to where you have these cases, do the map drawings, even ask the locals the basic roads to all of these places. It's not what is difficult to do. It is the political will. And like some of the military authorities have complained, General Musa once complained that there is infiltration in the military. That is an indictment on the military authorities themselves, in the sense that before individuals are recruited into the military, you do a due diligence check on them. And if due diligence is not done, and you end up recruiting informants to bandits, the result of what you get is that anytime there is a strategic plan, there will always be a negative effect. So for the president to say they will not surrender, is a sign that the president is doing more of a talk. We have had this issue of terrorism since 2009. What strategic plan does the government have in place? What is the way out of this problem? So if we keep hearing cases of banditry and nothing is done, we are doing more of simple political talk than action. Fortunately, one of the biggest designers of drone in the world is from Edo State here. So why would the government approach such an individual to say, give us a consultancy service on how some of these cases can be addressed? I recall in the past, a young scientist in Oguse said he can design a drone that if it passes through the forest, and there is a human presence there, you'll be able to detect it, even without seeing the individual. Only human brain will help the drone to detect that. Government did not take such an individual serious. So if government wants to stop this problem, it's a matter of getting the right tic-tacs in place and elite forces that when you hear cases of this, you deploy them and you get the right result. That is what I want to see from the president.
Okay, so
rather than saying he will not surrender to bandits.
Away from New Telegraph now, we'll look at the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian headlines: debt and oil output volatility weigh on fiscal outlook despite higher revenue. That's on page 6. Another story headline is on xenophobia as federal government approves 5 evacuation flights for 500 screened Nigerians. And finally, on the Guardian newspaper, Zulum Ndume hail military as troops rescue 360 abductees for kidnapping in Plateau. It's over to you, Dr. Dan.
Thank you very much. The first headline I will look at is the case of Nestor versus First Bank or so. This was a case of somebody who borrowed money from a bank and he could not pay. And after a while, you decide to take over the property when the necessary legal processes have not been executed. There are many cases like that are not reported in the media, where those who appear to be big use the force of law to oppress the weak. In the case of Nestor, the man had his onions and insisted that you cannot take over my property if the legal processes have not been exhausted. Thank God that he succeeded in this case. It's also a lesson for those who want to use the force of law to oppress others. Generally, all the issues raised regarding the rescue of individuals that were kidnapped is a victory for a sign of relief for the families involved.
Okay.
However, we want to call on the military authorities and the security agencies in general to do more for the people. Look, it will not take rocket science for us to get some of these things right. I watched a clip from a sister station yesterday about the young man who was kidnapped. He was shot, but somehow he said he was able to escape through some divine means. And I was wondering, from what the guy said, there are people who patrol some of these bushes once in a while. Those were the person that rescued him when he tried to escape.
Okay.
So the call is on state governors. They should not wait for the federal government to do things. Here in our state and other states, you have state vigilantes or state security apparatus that have been set up by these different state governments. Yeah. Beyond seeing some of them on our streets, we need strategic direction in our forests, highways, where these cases are common. We should rather think about nipping cases of this in the bud than this reactive approach. Okay. If we can do that, yeah, we will be able to stem the tide of kidnapping, banditry to the barest minimum. Okay, let's quickly
conclude the newspaper review segment because one of our guests is in the studio already, veteran broadcaster, media personality, talking about Dr. Pedro Obaseki. Will be joining us on our major discussion in just a moment, but we have the Punch, and it says states rush to deploy forest guards as insecurity deepens. That's on the Punch newspaper. And then on the Nigerian Tribune, yeah, that's on the Punch, states rush to deploy forest guards as insecurity deepens. And then we go to the Nigerian Tribune. It says troops rescue victims in Borno, Plateau, Kaduna. That story you'll find on the Nigerian Tribune. Yeah. And then, of course, Anu, let's take a look at the top story on the Vanguard newspaper. Yeah.
Now, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, interestingly, it has another different headline completely, and it says, let's see what it says here. Okay. It says, why cooking gas will remain scarce, expensive, as domestic demand analysis actually surplus.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Dan, you want to really react to that?
Okay, Dr. Dan, just before you react, let's see if we can link up with Dr. Hai for a comment on some of those headlines that we just read out. Dr. Hai, please.
I would like for us to look at the issue of the forest guards in the states. This is something that is not in the exclusive list, which means that the states can deploy. I mean, we don't even, the issue of state police is not, you don't even need to wait for that at this point. But the forest guards, you can infuse them with the vigilant groups that have been very active in places like Borno and other states, and of course in the southwest here. And these people know the forest very well. The kidnappers have taken advantage of the vegetation there, and they are moving around. But I want to use that to dovetail into the earlier story about the Air Force. While it is good for the Air Force to do its surveillance, there's a need for all the military forces to work together. The ground forces will smoke them out, and wherever they run to, they get a report from the surveillance. And this brings to question one very important thing. We had a satellite, Nigeria had a satellite in space some time ago, and I'm wondering, apart from telecoms, what are we doing with it? Is it also possible that we can key into, even if it's other other countries' satellites, to help in this fight against insurgency? I do know for sure, even without going into anything sophisticated, that if you go into your, there's certain Google apps that you look at, and you can see up to ground level. Once we know that something like this has happened, I think that the government can do something about it. What do I mean now? Immediately deploy and see how they can monitor the perimeter of that area to see unusual movements. If you're moving a large crowd of people, obviously we can see where they're going. The telecoms people are monitoring, the satellite is monitoring, and the ground forces are moving, and then we're able to do it. This is not rocket science. The government, for what we have seen with the Adelabu sisters, apart from the fact that they can afford to pay for ransom, it has demonstrated that if they truly want to do something, they can. We should do that for all citizens, not only for the privileged. But for
let's proceed there, Dr. Khai. Thank you so much. Dr. Dan, final comment on this?
Well, the price of cocaine gas is going higher now. It means for the man who earns little, he's going to become impoverished. Because if you're spending 12,000 naira to fill a particular kilogram of grass, and it has increased to 20,000, the implication is that what you are keeping as saving has automatically be affected. The challenge is on the gas producers to release supply so that people can live meaningfully.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for these insights into the conversations around what the papers are saying this morning. We will take a break now. We'll be having a network discussion with our guest here, Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, and that will dovetail into another network discussion with the former Minister of Youth and Sports and a lawyer talking about Solomon Dalong Esquire at about 8:30. But let's quickly take a break. We'll be back with you with our first guest on the program, TMI, on the ITV network. Please stay.
Some days, there comes the Ugemobo Festival, which the Oba celebrates outside the palace gate. A pavilion is built of red cloth where rites are performed to drive away all evil spirits still unsatisfied by the year's sacrifices. The Ugemobo Festival is to commemorate an event in Benin history which dates back to 1504 AD.
In a rare display of botanical brilliance, the palm tree defied natural norms, sprouting multiple branches that bear fruits. This rare occurrence has become a wonder to many, as experts are calling it a one-in-a-million phenomenon. Could this multiple-headed marvel hold secret to agricultural breakthroughs, or is it simply a freak accident of nature? An agronomist with Nigeria Institute for Oil Palm Research, NIFOR Benin, the strange palm tree also raises issues of a blend of science with human interest and cultural significance for maximum impact.
ITV, certainly the best.
The Ugewe is the final ceremony of the series of festivals. It is one of peace and lightheartedness, following the more solemn of the ritual year. Ugewe is the festival of the Ewe leaves, a symbol of good luck and joy. It is the most popular of all that heralds the dawn of a Benin New Year, new vow, newness of life and freshness of life, and a new hope for the future. In the evening, the Ewe leaves are presented to the Oba of Benin in grand style in a colorful ceremony. The Ihogbe Society, amidst singing and dancing, bring the sacred leaves that symbolize good luck, blessings, peace, and prosperity. Each of the senior members of the Ihogbe proceeds to give the sacred leaves directly.
With the 2027 election barely 1 year away, Nigeria's political chessboard is already shifting. Defections, new alliances, and power blocks are forming from Abuja to Benin City to Enugu, all across the country. Old rivals are meeting, and yesterday's enemies are testing new handshakes and, of course, major deals, political deals. Today, we x-ray these realignments with a veteran voice who has watched Nigeria's politics evolve for decades. Joining us is Dr. Pedro Obaseki, veteran broadcaster and political analyst. We will unpack what the mergers, exits, and backroom talks mean for voters across Nigeria as the battle for Aso Rock deepens. Dr. Pedro, thank you for joining us on the program.
Oh, Sonny, very, very so happy to be back.
Interesting.
I usually want to be back because this is the first time I will be doing an interview, a live interview. For almost 7 months. So
fantastic.
It's like the fish out of water. Happy to be back in the water.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, my colleagues will be joining me from Abuja Network Studio, where Joseph Kadri will be firing some bullets from there, and then of course from Lagos Network Studio, where Dr. Victor Ohai and Patricia will also be joining this conversation. But let's get started. How easy was it for you to let go after that incident involving some miscreants, some thugs who attacked you, embarrassed you, humiliated you? And when we looked at that story, there were centripetal and centrifugal forces behind all that we saw. How easy was it for you to just move on?
I didn't move on. I had to stop so that Edo can move forward. I was psychologically devastated, but on a physical level, I thank God that though I'm now in the twilight of years, I appear to be still physically fit. But when I looked at the entire landscape and when my family, as a pivotal pillar within the Edo nation stood, and taking into consideration that if I continue to pursue that case, as it were, it will create more ripples when Benin needed some form of centripetal, but centrifugals. So I listened to voices of reason, most especially my father, Isama of Benin, Chief Sir Gabriel Osawawi Igbenedion, along with other traditional persons who wanted to put a resolution. So I saw myself as some proverbial John the Baptist, but this time I wasn't going to lose my life. What I didn't know until what happened to me happened, that it has become almost a serial reoccurrence within our secluded space. But I can assure you, my sacrifice is for everybody, and it will never, ever happen again. Not to anybody who is a Homo sapien, but within the Edo.
What's the guarantee, or what?
I am the living guarantee, to be very frank. And if it dares to happen again, I will be John Wayne, wide west, and I will be firing from all cinders. But not stopping there, I want to make this a matter of law. I forgave them, but the court process is still on because the forgiveness must be pronounced as a court judgment where the assailants had already agreed in the public domain of culpability in this. So if it happens again, even when it may not directly concern them, they will be indirectly culpable. That is what is on. So the court judgment has been moved forward to July the 7th at the Federal High Court. So I forgive them because the Bible also said, forgive those who trespass against us so that we can be forgiven our trespasses. But those trespasses will be reading in the bootprint of the law to serve as a deterrent, since Nigeria does not have a suspended sentence in matrix. That was what I did.
Fantastic. So the case is still on, so we'll wait for the outcome. That's what it means. You have the eminent lawyer Femi Falana as someone dealing with this issue for you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, a major talking point is on the Nigeria's political landscape, with all the alignment, realignment, mergers, exit, and all of that happening at the same time. What does it portend for 2027? Let's start off from there. I mean, this is not abnormal. Yeah. It's usual with our politics. Yes. But it looks like there's some sort of uniqueness this year because we are seeing a system that had dominance from PDP, APC, and maybe Labour Party. We are now having ADC, we're having NDC, we're having PRP, and all of that. You want to take it up from there?
Yes, I think it's healthy for our politics because our politics at a time was just a two-horse race. In the last electoral round, it went into a three-way race. And at the beginning of this year, Nigeria was at the edge of a one-party state, in spite of the fact that everywhere you go, sufferation day everywhere. So for me, the realignments and the partitions, balkanizations are necessary to foster a more robust democracy. However, they must learn from history that on a dialectical level, a polarized opposition actually is the safe seal for even the most hated incumbent. So the more polarized the opposition is, what you may find on a probabilistic analysis in a nation where our politics is not based on a popular mandate. Mr. Tinubu is not a popularly elected president. He doesn't have a popular mandate. He won 36.6%, which means 64% of Nigerians. Out of every 100 million on an arithmetic terms, 64 million rejected the present president at the polls. That is a no mandate. But in Nigeria, it is first past the post, so long as you have 25%, a third in two-thirds of the country. So that is a very peculiar anti-people system, but that is what our constitution states. So as it states today, for me, I feel happy for the democratic process, but I weep for millions of Nigerians whose efforts have been balkanized by the multiplicity of political parties. Okay. So I was thinking there is some form of way that it is possible for them to come together and strengthen their individual votexes. It will be for the betterment.
So in a nutshell, it's healthy we're having more parties coming in. Yes. But it's strengthening the incumbents. It's weakening the APC. Okay. But it's giving the APC a pathway to returning to the presidency to the detriment of the large majority of Nigeria. Okay, let's get to Abuja Network Studio. Kadri has been waiting to engage in this conversation. Kadri, if you're there, just go ahead.
Okay. All right, Dr. Pedro, very good morning and come back on the program. Well, my question, quite many, but just take them one after the other, if that is permitted. Well, if you look at the realignment, defection, alignment, what does it, portends for the 2027 general elections?
I think the 2027 general elections is going to be the most unique general election in our immediate political history as a democracy. I also think that this is the election that has been systemically structured to be rigged. No, No, it's a truism.
Are you a prophet of doom?
No. I'm not basing it on what may happen.
Okay.
I'm not being probabilistic. I am basing it on the matrix playing out, the amopitonization of the INEC setup, the very funny electoral act, an electoral act that also seems to be against the Constitution. So when you look at it, you have a tripod of failure. One, in a more decent milieu, in a more decent environment, if the chairman of the umpire or of the refereeing body has been proved diametrically through data which cannot be altered or changed, with his email praising the ruling party 6-7 years before his appointment, he is already compromised. In a more decent climb, Amopito is a lawyer, shouldn't be sitting where he's at. That is on the one hand. On the second hand, you look at the Electoral Act, particularly sections 83, 84, 86, and 87. And we are seeing a deliberate attempt to circumvent the Constitution. I think that is why that other party went to court to put a stop to INEC prescribing regulations that are alien to the Constitution. So when you look at all this, and then you look at the elemental brigadage that seems to be happening within the political space, within the ruling party, for example, and you look at the immediate primaries where the ruling party is scoring more in a primary, almost 6 million, than the party scored in a general election, you don't need to be a Nostradamus to know that this is a structured rigging matrix. But when you look at the fallout online and the seeming awakening of the Nigerian we know go green spirit, I think anybody who is setting to rig the next election will be faced with what is worse than what the terrorists are inflicting on us.
How do you judge a man's email of 7 years ago as a basis of
looking for sophist play? Now, for you to be the INEC chairman, let's look at it from the times of Michael Ani, Abel Guobadia, the likes of Ephraim Akbata, looking at all, even the other Humphrey Wonsu and Co. The major requisite for being the INEC chairman is proven polarity, proven non-partisanship. However, there is no act to, I mean, Shakespeare said there is no act yet to tell the mind's construction on the face. Benise ibie ora kukun ni papa na direct translation that the insides of a man should have been outside so that we can map his mind's design. But unfortunately, we cannot do that. Okay. So when you look at this one, who already was a singing, parroting party member, and it is proved that it cannot be forged, because 6 years, 7 years before he was made INEC chairman, he was not in the picture. Moreover, Buhari was not president. He was a lecturer in the university who once upon a while was also on the Tinubu legal team. So when you put all this together, Rich cried last night, baby died this morning. Now the rich when he cried last night, now he killed the baby when he died this morning. So I hope people knows that already, even from his pronouncements so far. If you do literature, we call it contest question. Who said, when it was said, how it was said. So when you put all this in context, the profile of a partisan umpire is a garb that Professor Amopiton so presently.
Okay, let's take you to Lagos. Dr. Ha has been waiting to get into the groove of this conversation as we look at Nigeria's political landscape, the alignments and realignment. Dr. Ha, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Dr. Dompe, always a pleasure to see you. My question for you this morning, I just want to bring us back on course for 2027, looking at the candidates. We've looked at the products of the alignments and realignments, and it's becoming obvious those that are going to be in the race now. On the one hand, we have the new team in the ADC, the presidential candidate there, Atiku, and possibly an Amechi or whoever is a running mate. We have seen Peter Obi, the OK team in NDC, and Kwankwaso, and of course the incumbent. These appear to be the leading candidates right now. You also mentioned something which is very important, which means that, is that the opposition is not united right now, and so they're, breaking their votes. But what are the chances of the opposition in the light of what is going on in the country right now? Some will argue it's debatable that the president is no longer as popular as when he even got the 33-point-something votes because of the way the economy has gone down with the, also the inflation. So my question to you is, what are the chances of these candidates? Can you attempt an analysis going into 2027, other things being equal, forget about rigging and all that? What are the chances of these three teams, so to say? Of course, there are others in the race, but these appear to be the leading asset today.
If I speak as a strategist now, based on what my company has been employed to do for all the parties so far, none of the parties are happy. They are not happy because the political arithmetic is not favoring people the way they will think. Number one, the person that seems to have a head now, I hate him, if I can say that on air, but removing the hate factor, I don't like him.
Okay, I think that's better.
Yes, I just playing with words. It's Bola Tinubu. The reason is, as we so speak, incumbency factor first crossed the line, political calculations seems to favor incumbency across the world. Even if you use the Bayesian matrix, if you use the Monte Carlo analysis ratings, it favors him by just 0.5%. So the chances of Bola Ahmed Tinubu returning to power, if elections are held today, on the probabilistic analysis that we've done, is just 0.5. And if the telling economic situation continues, if the insecurity continues, if the seeming realliance of the old Buhari machinery that gifted him 5.87 million of his 8.9 in the last election continues to move towards Atiku, then the next president of Nigeria is the Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar. This is funny because if you look at the social media hype and the social media traffic, you don't see it. Because the social media traffic is dominated by those who control less than 42.5% of the registered voters among the 17 southern states, but however control less than 31% of voter turnout, where only in the last election Abia State hit 18% for the first time in Alex Ostuti's election, which means every 1,000 people that registered to vote in Abia, the highest that have voted is 180 and 820 sit at home. That's why when I see my governor, Senator Modu Okpebholo, I say he will give 2.5 million votes and to Tinubu. I wonder where that sociological figure comes from, because politics and election is a sociological behavior.
Yeah, because at this stage, registered voters are approaching about 2.8 million.
Thank you.
Yeah, with a population of about 5 million.
Okay, thank you. I've handled elections from 1999. Where I directed the first PDP presidential primaries in Jos in January 1999. And I have been here. In the last election, in the last two elections, I was the National Director of Research and Strategy for the Presidential Campaign Council. So I'm not based, and in all this, and in the last two elections in Edo State, I was DG of one and Deputy DG of another. So, and in those years, Edo State have never hit 25% voter turnout. So if you base it on that, the most results based on numerals that has happened in Edo State is Godwin Obaseki versus Osagie Izeyamu 2020, and that was 27.68%. So, which means the total combination of all the voters in Edo State has never gone beyond 1.1, 1.2, never. So what you are telling me now is that Senator Okpebholo, when we have not still hit 2.8 million voters, don't forget almost 600,000 of that have not yet collected their PVC. That is not for the collection of PVC. You have to collect and then you have to go to vote. And we all know that on voting day, particularly in the South, that is the day most of them watch Arsenal versus Chelsea. So when I hear all these abracadabra, I just say, okay,
Dr. Pedro, you said something that the current realities in the country, I mean, Dr. Hai also made mention of that. You have the economy.
Yes.
You have insecurity.
Yes.
You have other issues, infrastructure-wise.
Yes.
If they continue the way they are,
yes,
it will be a major factor on how these elections will be.
Yes.
But we know that Nigerians love to smile and suffer. Nigerians like to appreciate and even applaud those who are their problems. Isn't that a major factor in this election?
When we say Nigerians, now I put Nigerians in silos. An angry Nigerian is an unpredictable Homo sapien. When Nigerians are angry, that is blanket. but the way we react in the angry, when we are angry, are very different. In 2023, Edo people, they vex. Everything and just obi. So when they got to the polling unit, 3 elections held at the same time, only Edo State, particularly Edo South, voted Obi and the others. They didn't care. Many came out and were wondering, I don't vote for Matuidi. Hey, Jesus, hey. But that is it. And the man who didn't know, or many didn't know, or many didn't know, became collateral beneficiaries. However, the way that same anger was displayed in the East, where Obi came from, was very different. In Imo State, Obi cleared everything, but he did not win. One Labour Party did not win senator, neither did they win House of Rep. In Abia, Abga was still winning with Abari Ibe. The other 2 senators from Bende, that is Ojuzo Kalu, was still winning APC. What does that mean? It means the reply of the kinsmen of Peter Obi was diametrically opposite to the reply to this candidacy by Benin people. So when they go there, say Piakeba, put him in ping and they will Piaka for president. Then they will Piaka someone else. So now what I'm saying that is, I know that people think that everything in politics is Nigeria is giving them money where their take-home pay can't take them home. 1,000 naira, people change their mind. We see it on the queue.
Vote buying, you mean?
Vote buying.
Yeah.
But I can tell you for free that those persons who are willing to take your money and vote as they want are populated in the South, while those in the North run a very different gambit. In 2015, I knew what the PDP did to mobilize the mass people in the North. But however, at voting point, even Adamu Nwazu, the chairman, national chairman of the PDP, after voting, raised his ballot and he voted APC. So when you look at that, there is going to be an almost institutional movement in the core North based on matrices we in the South don't perceive. Okay. Their own is different. They think they are brutally marginalized. They think they made Tinubu president, and they think that
you don't see 31 governors, 31 progressive governors buying into the president's 2027 as being an advantage.
I think that is the biggest houdini that they are hoodwinking Tinubu, and I know the man is too smart to buy into that. Let me say this. In 2023, Peter Obi had 0 governors, 0. And they credited him out of the 36 states and Abuja. They credited him with winning 11 and Abuja making 12 with 0 governor. That is on the one hand. Atiku had no governors in the core North. In Katsina, where Buhari, the APC super machinery was in situ, won flatly. Same thing with Kaduna, same thing with Zamfara, Kebbi, and Sokoto. So anybody who is using that as a way of mapping how Nigerians will vote, because the governors are, sorry, Your Excellency, you are all buccaneers. When I say buccaneers, I mean they be political pirates. They are all on this ship to ensure that a presidency that defies our constitution and places in March 2025 a state of emergency in Rivers where there was no threat to national security is a living threat to all their continuous gubernatorialness. So I will join now. Okay. That's what I think.
All right, let's bring in Kadri for more as we gradually bring this conversation to a close. Kadri, can you give us insights into more on this conversation with Dr. Pedro?
Discussion, I must say, but there are aspects I want Dr. Pedro to, shed some light, which has to do with the recent registered voter that the INEC mandated all the political parties to carry out. And when we check, the APC has about 12 million members. ADC has about 3 million. PDP, that's the Turaki faction, has about 4. And then the NDC has 700 members, I mean in their register. So if you put all of that together, let's say it amounts to 20 million. And then, as at the last time we check, from the INEC, record, about 92 million Nigerians are, of course, registered with PVC. So, Doctor, with what has happened in terms of membership register, do you think it will shape the voting pattern for 2027 when the APC is already, proud to say it has the highest number of members? That's on one hand. Then, because the time may not permit me again, I want you to look at the macroeconomic indices, with insecurity, inflation, unemployment. What do you think will shape voters' decision in 2027?
This is a three-pronged
question. In 2 minutes.
Yes, I will just quickly say the first one.
Okay.
Forget what in APC they write. There is no forensic determination of 12 million votes. No, forget that one. PDP when they there since when you get people, even people lead, they still say they get 4 million votes. You are already saying that more people are now members of the APC than the total election that APC has won. I don't want that to be a basis. If we are saying that the media is encouraging a rigging hype, because Peter Obi, I'll come back to Peter Obi, I'm sorry. Peter Obi did not have registered voters at all. They were not paying the Labour Party and he got 6 million. Atiku and the ADC to have put together 3 million in 1 year, it makes arithmetic sense. So the normal arithmetic sense is from both the ADC and the NDC. So forget, we were watching them counting the 12 million, 1, 2, 10, 300, 500, we also. So if you are taken in by that Jabberwocky, you are aiding the decimation of the Nigerian mindset. The press the media must hold those who propagate such elemental disarithmetic. Anyway, many do not go to school. That is our leadership selection process. Let's not go understand their bad arithmetic.
Let's not go
then
now.
When you look at what will most shape, likely, the next presidential election, if I say people may not be happy, it will not be insecurity, it will not be the economy. When my uncle from Irua, Sonny Okosu, who shares your name, sang we don't want no fight, wars no more. He did not know about these wars we are fighting. When Idris read Nigeria jaga jaga, he did not know Nigeria will jaga jaga to the point of the total dismemberment of the jaga jaganess now. So those things don't, and we have said before, Sonny said, Nigerians love suffering and smiling. Fela said that in 1979. What will shape this election is division, ethnicization, ethnicity, tribalism, the regional political considerations have snowballed into a massive whirlwind that was engineered maybe by the APC, but they will not be able to contain it. Okay. And at that point, those who will be holding to the reins of the horse will be the ruling party.
Okay, let's quickly meet up with Dr. High for a last shot, a very brief one before we bring in our next guest, Solomon Dalong Esquire, who is already on standby. Dr. High, last one, please try and make it brief so we can have Dalong as our next guest. Is already on standby.
All right. Dr. P, rather. My question to you right now will be, I mean, just in summary, do you think that these realignments are ideologically driven, or is it a case
not at all.
Survival of the fittest?
No. The most ideological person... sorry.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
The three most ideological contestants in Nigerian political landscape failed in 2019. And one of them is you, Victor. Are you getting my point?
It was a presidential.
Yeah, it was a I was part of this. I put this in his campaign. I think himself, Victor, maybe Omoyele Sowore, maybe the only ideological people in the last 20, 30 years. Now, the least ideological of them all is actually, I'm sorry, based on arithmetics of movement, is Peter Obi. Because you cannot say a man is ideological for him to be in a Labour Party in January, ADC in March, and NDC in April. So that is on the ideological bent, because all these three parties have very variegating, different ideological leanings. Okay. So I don't think any of them are moving for ideological alignments. Okay. They are moving for political survival. My friend, my very close friend, E.J. Agbonaima, he just made 7 parties in the last few. So if you say somebody is ideological, maybe Tinubu is ideological.
Okay. All right. Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, it's always a delight to have you. Thank you so much for this very robust conversation we've had with you. And I know that when we call you next time, you will always oblige us. Thank you. Like Thank you. Thank you. It's the TMI on the ITV network. We are stepping up the conversation now. Joining us virtually is a former Minister for Youth and Sports, a lawyer, activist, a politician, Solomon Dalong. Thank you for your patience and thank you for joining us on the ITV network on TMI. Good to have you on the show. A network glitch, but we can really see that Solomon Dalong is already with us in our virtual setup to drive this conversation forward as we make progress towards 2027. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with you on the program TMI. Don't go away. So gladdening to know you're still there with us on the program TMI on the ITV network. We've got our next guest on the program, Solomon Dalong Esquire, former Minister for Youth and Sports of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Dalong, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for the opportunity once again.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm just wondering, some will say you are a major beneficiary of the APC, having served as a federal minister, but all of a sudden you became one of the biggest critics of the present government, I mean, of the party. How are you able to, display this disposition against the background of where we are today? And then what are your expectations on the 2027 election with all the alignments and realignments?
I don't know when selfless service becomes benefit. So I will need to consult my encyclopedia so that I can realign those using the concept benefit. But I understood that a call to serve your nation is a call for selflessness. And if there is anything beneficial about it, it should be that you've been able to bring your modest contribution to move your country forward. So I don't know how service becomes beneficial, except maybe you redefine what those who are saying I'm a beneficiary means. Back to the journey to 2027, the realignments. Well, I might think personally, the politicians, the major political elites, the political stakeholders have learned no lesson. They have all been consistent in maintaining their personal ambitions, and it is their personal ambitions that measured and dictate the political pace. So we are back again into the politics of where the zones or the regions have their political parties, and they may be looking for alliances across to be able to form government. That is how it looks. So averagely, no lesson learned.
What would you say are the major challenges the ruling party of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to deal with if it's going to be able to withstand the pressure that is coming from the opposition political parties? And then what is your assessment of the level of organization and readiness of the opposition parties for 2027?
Any pressure as expected on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's APC. The pressure is an internal combustion from the party as to the sharing formula of tickets for 2027. Tinubu had successfully lured the governors into the APC and all gullible politicians into the APC. Now they are dealing with the crisis of tickets. And even members of the National Assembly who were winged into the amendment of the Electoral Acts and also the gale of defections are today on a second round of defections, looking for political survival in alternate political parties. But organizationally, 2027 looks like it's chaotic. I think the APC is in chaos. The opposition parties are trying to find their feet after the coalition suffered some setback. But the most stable of all the political parties is the ADC, because the ADC is a huge beneficiary of coalition. And almost all those who move into the ADC before they migrated to greener political pasture left their members behind. So the ADC, as it may be underestimated, is the only political party that is stable despite all odds, all shenanigans to try to truncate and destabilize it had completely failed. So the opposition, if they are mounting the necessary pressure, President Bola Tinubu's government is so weak, it would have collapsed. And it is because of the inability of the opposition party to organize and mount pressure that Nigerians are now on the streets, taking their destiny into their hands and protesting insecurity. So I think for the opposition, well, they will harvest the benefits of 2027 because of the clueless and the incompetent nature of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led APC government.
Thank you. We'll take you to Lagos Network Studio, where Patricia and Dr. Ohai is on standby to give us more perspectives through the questions on this conversation. Patricia.
Thank you, sir, for joining us this morning on TMI. It's good to have you. My question is, what is your forecast for the political contest leading up to 2026?
Well, in terms of focus, I think that would have been abandoned when some of these coalition elements opted out of the coalition. But 2027 is going to be basically about how Nigeria has been managed in the past 3 years. Nigerians are very bitter across the country. Nigerians feel insecure. Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians have sold their farms and paid ransom to criminal gangs operating in the ungoverned spaces. The young and the smaller children do not even want to go to school because they see school as an avenue where they will be kidnapped into the forest. Our economy is in complete doldrum. We have made more revenues from 2023 till date, but we have borrowed more than ever before in the history of this country. From 1960 to 2026 put together. So these will be the issues that will be on the front burner. But as to whether the APC, after the setting aside of 800 billion from the Federation account for 2027 campaign, will be able to buy Nigerians to vote them is something that is much to be desired. But I think the APC is in a chaotic situation that internal combustion, mistrust, disagreement, unfulfilled ambitions is currently rocking them. But I don't know what is wrong with their brains. When Tinubu was only interested in ensuring that he emerged a sole candidate, what guarantee did they extract from him that they will be surprised at what is unfolding? So 2027 is going to be a watershed in the political history of Nigeria.
Let's join my colleague from Abuja studio, Joseph, who also is willing to embellish this conversation with more questions. Joseph, please take it away.
And let me also welcome Barrister Dalong to the program. Yeah, my question will be, before the exit of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso to the NDC, the balance sheet of ADC would have been 12 million votes. That is, as of the last election, Atiku had 6 million, Peter Obi 6 million, that's 12 million, and then Kwankwaso about 1.7 million, which is about roughly 14 million votes that ADC, would have had in its kitty. But since the exit of Obi and Kwankwaso, see about 8 million votes has, left the ADC. So my question is, with what is left in the ADC now, what is the guarantee that part
Well, you are asking of the guarantee of the ADC after the exit of Kwankwaso and Obi. Let me take you back to the 2023 analysis of the votes. Those votes of 2023 were triggered by the Muslim ticket. And after 2023, the question will be, how did the beneficiaries manage the votes? Had they been able to sustain and manage it? The answer is no. So as it stands today, the ADC is the only political party that is sure of defeating Tinubu. And I will now give new analysis. Peter Obi, in 2023, there were 10 million registered voters in the Southeast. He was only 2.5 million turned out to vote. And out of that 2.5 million, he got 1.9. Most of the votes he got were outside the Southeast. Lagos, Edo, Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, and some part of Southern Kaduna. Can he reenact the same scenario now? The answer is capital no. Therefore, there is even no 6 million for him to appropriate or to be used in the computation of 2027. Those places where he won are already battle zones. So he will need to go back to his Southeast and mobilize. Maybe out of the over 10 million votes there, he will be able, a chunk of it, if not all. The North, which donated the 5.5 million votes for Tinubu under the Muslim ticket, has withdrawn. So Tinubu, as it is now, is left with about 2.5. That 2.5 is very, very shaky because it would have been sustained by performance, but his performance is all in red. The only green aspect of his performance is that he has been able to transform himself. He's looking stronger than when he was in 2023. He has also bought an Airbus. He bought a Cadillac and a yacht in billions of dollars. And he has renovated presidential lodges all over the country. So he transformed only himself. And that cannot be translated into votes. So Atiku Abubakar of the ADC remains the formidable candidate to be defeated in 2027, because the North will come up with a block vote. And the North has more votes than anywhere in Nigeria. Atiku's experiences and friendship will also harvest votes across the zones. Plateau is a battle zone for AGC, APC, NDC, PDP. The same thing of Nasarawa, the same thing of Benue, the same thing of even Edo, where Peter Obi won. So the greatest political mishap for Peter Obi's political ambition was leaving the AGC, because he would have remained in the coalition and re-strategize his ambition. And that would have come maybe, if not in 2027, later. But as it stands now, they have given Alhaji Atiku Abubakar a smooth ride to victory. And I will want anybody to contest this with spirit argument.
Thank you, Solomon Dalong, for those very robust and useful insights you brought to bear in this conversation. But looking at your own trajectory, you have moved from the PDP to the APC, CPC, SDP, and now ADC. Perhaps that explains why you're very frontal and rooting for the ADC, which is now your party. You know too well that Nigerians, in terms of their voting pattern, they are usually not influenced by some of the things that you put forward. So what are those key things you strongly believe will change or influence the outcome of this election? And in any case, some say, well, you probably feel the way you feel, maybe because you didn't have the opportunity to be reappointed as a federal minister or be involved in the core activities of the APC that made you to now become a political activist.
That have been the struggle for over 50. Anybody who is bereft of knowledge and maybe is mentally bankrupt may limit my political activism to when I left office. But I started activism as far back as when I was much younger. I was in the NADECO, and I went to prison. I was detained in just prison during the NADECO days. Therefore, it will be mere political mischief and trying to service a mentally bankrupt brain to limit history to 2019. Back to the issue of reappointment. Reappointment is at the pleasure of the person who appoints. For the job of a minister, you don't print posters for it so that somebody will say, oh, you printed and you were defeated. So, using the issue of maybe not returning to the cabinet to try to evaluate my contribution, again, is the product of dull brains. But productive minds will deal with facts and issues. And in any way, I served as a minister from 2015 to 2019, full-fledged tenure, and I received my reward as a minister, the severance benefit paid to me with a thank you for your service. So I don't know why, even with AI, dull brains cannot service their minds elsewhere, and they keep sustaining this mundane narrative, oh, because you were not reappointed. Is that the reason why the APC has failed? Yes, I have moved from PDP. I'm a founding member of PDP. When internal democracy collapsed, I moved to the APC. When internal democracy collapsed in the APC, I moved to the SDP. And when the SDP was rocked by a crisis, I joined the coalition. We will continue to move for a better political arrangement that will take into consideration political values. I'm not into politics because I would want fortune for myself. No, I'm into politics so that together with the other like minds, we can come together and make this country a better place for Nigerians to live better. I don't mind who is. I'm concerned about what Tinubu is doing because he has borrowed so much money and we have nothing to show for it. He has raised so much revenue, he cannot protect Nigerians. Today, teachers are kidnapped with their students and beheaded in presence of the students. We watch small kids being tortured in the forest by criminals who did not even have opportunity of any single investment, while government continue to pretend is happening. They are on top of the situation. So I think the situation they are on top of is the one we are seeing reflected by the criminals and bandits. That's the situation the government is on top. So I think we should try to put our brains productively and look at issues instead of trivialities.
Solomon Dalong, quickly, many of the people who are the arrowheads of your new party, they've always had the opportunity to serve this country at various levels, either as state governors or as vice president, as the case may be. And in any case, some of these people, we've seen how they manage their states with insecurity taking a huge toll on those states. If this is their pedigree, and this is the history that we have of them, what is the guarantee that they are going to be any different from what we currently have with the APC, as it were?
Ability to review the evolution of a phenomenon accords a better capacity to deal with the future. So these people who had served in the past are better, would be better managers of the future because they have history, they have mistakes which they have made, so they can correct it. And therefore, I think where we are today as a country, we require people who had history, who had served before. And in any case, who had never served before. You were maybe once a monitor in your class when you were growing up in primary school. You were a class captain. You were a school captain in secondary school. So you have also hold positions as you grow up. Therefore, trying to reduce national conversation to mundane issues like, they have history, so what can they do better? They are the best because they have realized that they didn't do well and they are back to correct it. Those who did not do well and are still using rhetorics to defend their failures are the worst to be trusted, because the APC had not come out to accept that they have been unable to protect Nigerians, even when they are killing Nigerians. The Minister of Defense has shamelessly come up these days to say, the security situation is better when we have a woman delivering in the camps of a bandit. And without attention, a woman has to use her teeth to cut the umbilical cord. Yet we have the Minister of Defense telling us the security has improved. His brother, a general, was kidnapped. He's still in the hands of bandits. Yet he's telling us the security has improved. Borno, yet he lacked the moral cloud to honor, and he's telling us the security has improved. So I think Those who are denying their mistakes are the worst to be trusted with the power. But those who can come up and say, oh, we didn't do well, but we want to do it better, I think there is what we call forgiveness, even in the Quran, in the Bible, and traditional religion. And those who come and say, oh, I didn't do it well, I want to do it again, are the best of all men. That's why the Bible says, you fall 7 times, you rise 7 times.
Okay. Kadri is on standby from Abuja Metro Studio to bring more perspective to this conversation. Kadri.
Well, if you are still hearing me, Barrister Dalong, the question, after Atiku was declared winner of the ADC presidential primaries, we've seen the exit of more people. One of them is his kinsman, Babachi Lawal. And he didn't just leave, and he's still firing from where he is now against the mandate given to Atiku. With the likes of Lawal and others who have left, what is the hope for Atiku and for the ADC? I like to always do this because the essence of being in the race is to win. But with fragmentation within the party, the likelihood of the party not achieving its objective is very, very high.
Well, I think for Babachir leaving, maybe you give him an opportunity to speak more on why he left, and he will be able to explain that better. But to me, he felt dissatisfied and he left with the primaries. There are also people who felt dissatisfied with the primaries, but they did not leave. They are still in the party. So it all depends on how anybody handles his situation. What would have scared me would have been that if you had asked me, would the fragmentation among Nigerians around the issues on the front burner, insecurity, poverty, and hunger, what will be the prospect of the ADC? That will be what would have given me concern. But if you are talking about political gladiators, only few are into politics because of the general good. Majority are because of their personal ambition. And if personal ambition is not realigning, they also migrate. So I think you should understand this. And the Nigerian people are still united in poverty. They are still united in hunger. They are still united in high cost of living. They are still united in lack of infrastructure. They are still united in a government that has borrowed so much money, yet their well-being has not changed. This is what will determine 2027, and not the action or inaction of political gladiators. So I will want to educate here.
Is one of our anchors, is also in our Lagos studio. Dr. Hai, could you please go ahead with your question?
Dr. Dalong, I would, at this point, I like your confidence and the fact that you believe that the ADC has very good chances. But I think it's also important to look at things, put things in proper perspective. Right now, in spite of the insecurity, in spite of the economic conditions, there are certain things that Abiy has done, probably to checkmate. As you know, everything is local. He has been able to move or entire into his party governors across the states, and today we have well over 30 governors in APC, and many National Assembly members have also defected into the ruling party. I say so to mean that each of these people come with their crowd, they come with their followers. And I also want to say that if you look at Atiku, the last time he ran, he ran, under with the ticket of PDP, which has structures all over the country. And so there was him, but there was also the factor of local politics in each of these states, which means as a PDP member, there's those who will say to you they're diehard PDP members. It doesn't matter who is there. And so he would have enjoyed some of this. Probably the first time he's running on a platform that does not have that kind of spread, or that is across the country like that. What chances do you think that your party and perhaps NDC and the other parties have against this strategy that the president has put in place, and what are you doing to counter it?
I don't know whether you also take note of what the political dynamics in 2023 has brought. In 2023, the issues were around sentiment and especially religion. And the 2023 general elections had already confirmed certain positions. They have also confirmed the capacity of the zones. Therefore, the governors in 2023 wrote on the back of the sentiment of Muslim ticket. That was why Lalong, an APC governor, lost to Peter Obi to about close to 1 million votes, meaning that the relevance of the past had already been swept away. Secondly, the governors, 31 of them that had moved into 32, or when they will be 36, I don't know, into APC, moved with their commissioners and special advisors. The people did not move. Because hunger and poverty did not move. So the people did not move. That was why the former governor of Delta State went to his village to address women that he has moved to APC. And they told them they're going nowhere. That was why, if you look at the defection of the governor of Kano, it was a gathering of cars. The defection of the governor of Plateau into APC, it was just a gathering of cars and his aides. So the reality is that the influence of the governors had already been whittled down considerably, more so that most of them are non-performers. And so they cannot influence anybody. They also mismanaged the goodwill of their offices and has fallen apart with so many people who supported them in 2023. This is cut across everywhere. That's why there is fighting between this governor and this person who brought him all over. So it is not the same as it were in 2023. Now, don't dismiss the exit of Buhari. The exit of Buhari and his cult supporters has been inherited. And it was handed over to Atiku by Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the day Buhari was buried. Because if President Tinubu had intelligent people around him, the only person they would have allowed to enter Buhari's house that day would have been Atiku, so that the people did not see him. They should have only seen him on the screen. But the president went there and occupied the house and allow Atiku. They prevented him from even coming close. He had to come down close to 0.5 kilometers and walk. And suddenly, the people saw him and remembered that Buhari had died, and they coronated him a leader. The northern politics revolves around leadership. That was why there was something called Buhari Hurricane in 2015. There is going to be another northern hurricane in 2027 because the Atiku you are looking at in 2023 is not the same. The north you are looking at in 2023 is not the same. Therefore, these are the obvious realities. If you dismiss this, you will just be operating on an academic rhetoric. But the reality is that everybody has gone back to his father's house. He's holding his ground. Peter Obi is beating his drum of NDC in the southeast there. Tinubu has been led with the APC in the southwest, even though Makinde is smoking him out of Ibadan. So he's not even holding strong ground. So there is no power at all of incumbency. Let us not deceive ourselves. This is the reality.
Okay. All right. Solomon Dalong, thank you so much for the very robust and those sometimes very subjective insights that you brought to bear on our conversation today on the road to 2027. I want to thank you for your time, Solomon Dalong, former Minister of Youth and Sports, chieftain of the ADC, giving us insights on the chances of the opposition, particularly the ADC, ahead of 2027, and some of the challenges that have rocked his former party, the APC. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
And thank you for the opportunity. I am always objective. You will one day come back and look for me to accept this. There's no subjectivity here. That's the reality.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. It's the TMI on the ITV network. Now to our next conversation. Every global pandemic tells two stories: the science of the virus and the politics of the response. From COVID-19 to outbreaks we face today, questions keep coming up about data delays, vaccine access, funding politics, and why some countries act fast while others struggle. To help us confront the insincerity and the politics behind the headlines, our guest is Professor Cyril Otohia, a geneticist, public health advocate from Novena University, Ogume, Delta State. It will break down what really happens behind the scenes during pandemics and how politics shapes health policy and what Nigeria and Africa must do differently next time. Stay with us, because behind every epidemic there is a truth we can't afford to ignore. And we'll take a break. We'll be back with you with our next guest. Stay with us. It's the TMI on the ITV network. Thanks again for rejoining us on the program TMI on the ITV network. Our guest, Professor Cyril Otohia, is with us. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Sonny Duke.
Okay, we're back on this trajectory of conversations around epidemic or pandemic. Ebola, came out again. And before that, we're talking about hantavirus. You've always had the opinion that this is all fraud, this is all scam. What is the politics and the politics behind all of these conversations we're having?
Yes, I've continued to always emphasize that somebody's business is at stake. Then, if you go by all economic calculations, for you to sustain your business, then the ethics of that business must be continued to be modified in order to meet up with time and space. So after the declaration of COVID-19, I did warn the world that more will come. And all of a sudden we woke up a few weeks ago and we had Hanka virus. I laughed when I heard the word, because if you check the meaning of Hanka in different languages, there are some that outrightly Hanka means scam or fake, something that is not real. Then the other one is something they will tell you run away from. So when you now gather all this information, then you look at the trend, you discover that it's still business. Hanka came, but does not carry that weight. So all they have done is to bring back this cousin. You heard the word I've used? Cousin, because they are related. Because if you watch the trends of heavy metals marketing, then you will see that there is a close relationship between Ebola and Hanka. So they are cousins, very close cousins. Hanka did not survive and did not carry the weight of what they were expecting. Do you know why? Because of the knowledge people had from COVID-19. So before COVID-19, when you say epidemic, everybody is scared. Everybody is hiding. Then when some of us as scientists now came out to educate ourselves on what some of these epidemics and pandemics that are being declared by one organization, then people started seeing the other side of these scam or wide languages that people just use to draft people to think one way. So you see that Hanka did not survive because of the conditions and the fear factor that is attached to it is.
But people have died from these viruses.
People not die. Well, we are told that millions died in COVID-19. So I thought people will find out the open grave and graves that have taken wide space of land for all those people that died during COVID-19. But nobody is asking questions. So they are coming again, people are dying. Who is dying? Where is the person? Where is the dead body? Bring the dead body out. All of us are scientists. Then let's check what killed this person. Then let's see whether he's close to what they have named or not. But I hope you know that at the end of the day, if you ask AI now, how many people died during COVID-19, the number is different because people really did not die. They were just showing us picture work, video work, to pass that message of scare into you and I so that we will look for somewhere to hide.
Okay. All right, let me bring my colleagues into this conversation. Let's bring Dr. Ohai from our Lagos studio to join this conversation. Dr. Ohai, could you please go ahead with your question?
Very much. Doctor, it's interesting to hear this coming from a medical doctor, scientist, and I like your frankness about it. There have been conspiracy theories all these years about the politics and the economics of pandemics. So the question I want to ask is, what role does the big pharmaceutical companies, what rules do they have in these theories, and also governments as well? When I say governments, I know that during COVID, a lot of governments were coerced into take vaccines. You know, a lot of them were coerced into, I mean, apart from a pandemic, you know what happened with the Pfizer vaccines in Kano and all experiments and all that. What role do these big pharma, you know, have in this, and also in how they're able to governments, particularly in the third world, in being victims of this scaremongering and, if you like, experimentation?
From the first aspect, the pharmaceutical, I will refer you to one publication. Maybe you ask Google. I think it should still be available. They titled it "Making the Killings." Making the Killings. If you read that article, you find out how pharmaceutical companies are coaxed into accepting money and being given their own idea of driving politics in their business to achieve whatever purpose they want to achieve. If you look at that video, Making the Killing, you see that pharmaceutical companies are paid. So all they tell you outside are lies. But behind, you come to a doctor, you are a patient. You come with headache. They recommend at least one of the drugs that has been prepared, that when you send it to the world, it has a specific purpose that it must achieve. I want people to, these days, don't out of fear or whatever it is, feel that the world is too safe for people to live. No, find out a little bit information on what you hear. If you watch that video, then you will see that pharmaceutical companies are second in number in crime to what we classify as population control, using factors to reduce population. I have explained the way they do it. They make sure they pay the companies. Then when you come before a doctor prescribes any of the drugs. There are a lot of drugs that have been mentioned on that video and that publication. So check it. Then when you come to the government part of it, COVID-19 was an eye-opener now. I was in Kogi State. Till today, how many people died in Kogi? None. No deaths. There was no deaths recorded. Because I was there, and I am the scientist, and the governor was a reasonable person who felt he sat down and listened to the information that he has been given. 1 million people just died, and you don't see any dead body. 500 died in Gwagwalada Hospital. I sent a woman who has locked herself inside her room for weeks. I said, take a walk out and see whether you will see any person that is crying that the person related to them or the brother or whatever is dead. And that woman took the risk to go to Gwagwalada Hospital. And that was what brought out from her hiding place, because she got there and never saw any person entering or coming out, or any person crying that somebody has died, and there was no dead body carried from one point to another. Everyone was serene and quiet. Okay. Nobody. So scam. But there was a purpose to be achieved. And that purpose, I continue saying it. So for the government aspect of it, so that I don't forget, see, every government, all of us knows the truth behind epidemics and pandemics. When they are declared, money follows. Every government were paid. Okay. I was even offered money. I think at a point, I even took some publications and some email to my church. I gave it to my pastor. I said, look at what they are offering me. And they're asking me to go back to tell the world that COVID is real. But they have forgotten that human life is involved. So for the government, you discover that it's just money. It's all money, money, money. And nobody is feeling the impact of the citizens. What is What are they feeling?
The plight.
What will be the effect of whatever decision they are taking on the people? Has everybody in Kogi State vanished? But he did not take the money. But those who took the money are my little... I had a colleague who is a professor of biochemistry, who was a governor at the time, at that very particular time of COVID-19. At the initial stage, when I was in Kogi, he was already inviting me to Cross River State. But because of the lockdown, I could not get to Cross River State. But before the whole drama could end, he now shifted his ground from COVID is a scam, that COVID is real. And that's a biochemist, a professor of science.
Okay.
That's the same thing with government.
So
it's not politics.
Let's take a short break. We'll bring you the news, and then we'll be back to conclude this conversation with Professor Cyril Otoihia, who is a geneticist and a public health advocate, not a medical doctor. I'm sure Dr. Ohai, misunderstood that earlier. We just needed to establish that. But we'll take the break now. The news is coming to you in just a moment. Please stay.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Healthy Living. What is the kidney?
The kidney is an excretory organ in the body, which is for metabolism.
Tuberculosis affects many organs in the body, but the common ones it usually affects is the lungs.
Epilepsy is a neurological problem.
Okay.
It is an injury in the brain, which causes someone to begin to convulse, to go into fits.
Hello and welcome to the news at this time. I am Anuluwapo Stevens. Christians have been urged to make effective use of every available platform to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, whom they describe as the only Savior of the world and King of the universe. The charge was given by the spiritual leader and general overseer of Christ Church and Church of God International, Senior Apostle David Umuefe, during the just concluded Pentecost Week celebration, which culminated in a Tarry 9 service at the International Worship Center along Benin Asaba Road, Benin City. Egosa Abrelao has the details.
Addressing the congregation, Senior Apostle David Umuefe stressed the importance of evangelism and encouraged believers, ministers of the gospel, and church workers to remain committed to winning souls for Christ. The cleric also emphasized the need for Christians to seek the gifts and empowerment of the Holy Spirit, noting that divine power is essential for effective Christian witness and righteous living in a morally challenged world. According to him, the disciples of Jesus Christ did not begin their public ministry until they received the baptism of the Holy Spirit in the upper room, an experience that equipped them to boldly preach the gospel.
Blessed Jesus, the man where they save the unsaved, the man who came to save sinners. We need that spiritual equipment. We need that spiritual empowerment. So whatever we do here tonight, Let's do it. One accord.
Senior Apostle Nuefe further urged Christians to remain steadfast in faith and allow the Holy Spirit to guide their daily lives as they carry out the Great Commission. The Pentecost Week celebration featured prayer section, worship, teachings, and spiritual activities aimed at strengthening the faith of believers and deepening their commitment to Christ. Egosa Agmonlao, ITV News.
Meanwhile, Christians have been told to first of all discipline or correct themselves before thinking of order, discipline, or correcting people. The resident pastor, God Historic Church, GRA, Benin City, Reverend Osamu Diame Afe, gave the piece of advice on Sunday in a sermon titled Do Not Judge. The report by Osamuyi Obama is presented by Ikmonwusa Ugiagbe.
The resident pastor, God's Historic Church, GRA Benin City, Reverend Osamu Diame Afe, said judgment is not of man, but God. The clergyman said a situation whereby people think that they are the only righteous people is very wrong, and calling people names is not right, because everyone that claims to be Christian only have one God, and only that God has the right to judge.
This month, we are expecting us to grow in maturity. A sign of a mature Christian is that you carry your Bible. We can even carry our Bible inside our phone now, but have a Bible. You cannot be a Christian without a Bible. Doesn't make sense. Some of you have Bible, you leave it at home. Doesn't make sense. The church, amongst other things, that it is a place where we study the word of God. Smile at somebody, say, do not judge. Oh. You that you are judging, so people say, there is a plank in your eye, but you are judging another person's soul. Yes, people will make mistakes. People will sin. But what should be your attitude? Your attitude should be to restore. Bear ye one another's body, and so fulfill the law of Christ.
As part of the service was the birthday Thanksgiving by Reverend Osamu Diame Afe. He was accompanied in the Thanksgiving by members of his family, friends, and church members to thank God for adding another year to his years on earth. The service, which is the first Sunday in the month of June, witnessed members singing and dancing in the presence of God. From Benin, Ikmonwusa Ugiagbe, ITV News.
A wave of grief enveloped Iyokwe community in Agenobode, Isako, East Local Government Area of Edo State, as family members, friends, associates, and well-wishers gathered to pay their last respect to late Mrs. Rufina Udufa, who passed away at the age of 48. Edo North correspondent Anthony Igbino has the details.
Funeral mass held at St. Mary's Catholic Church, Iwikwe, Agenibode. The parish priest, Reverend Father Vincent Edawoju, reminded the congregation of the certainty of death and the need for every individual to live a life worthy of emulation. He urges mourners to remain steadfast in faith and good work, noting that death is an invisible journey that awaits all mankind. The cleric also offered prayers for the peaceful repose of the deceased soul.
Jesus Christ, we reverently bring the body of our sister Rufina Udufa to be buried in this human imperfection.
Speaking shortly after the interment, the managing director of Independent Television and Radio, Engineer Elvis Obaseki, expressed deep sadness over the untimely passing of Mrs. Rekia Odufa Rukayat Ohakia. Engineer Obaseki described the death as painful and unfortunate, stating that her departure has created a vacuum that will be difficult to fill. He noted that she will be remembered for her warm kindness and positive impact on those around her. Speaking on behalf of the family, Mr. Pius Emo Okakia described the late Rufina as a loving, caring, and selfless mother whose life touches many people. According to him, the family is still struggling to come to terms with the painful reality of her passing. He added that her humility, generosity, and unwavering commitment to her family and community will remain a lasting legacy for generations to come.
She was quite a beloved woman to all of us, so highly hospitable.
Late Mrs. Rufina Odufwa Rukayat Okakia is survived by children, relatives, and loved ones. Anthony Igbano, ITV News.
You're still on the news. Family members, church members, ministers of the gospel, friends, and well-wishers have celebrated the founder and senior pastor of Migdal El Ministry, Apostle Dr. Dele Joseph, on the occasion of his 70th birthday. The event, held at the church auditorium in Benin City, attracted ministers of the gospel and guests from different walks of life who gathered to honor the clergyman for his years of service to God and humanity. Ofure Aneta takes it from here.
It was an atmosphere of joy and thanksgiving as guests from different walks of life gathered at Migdal El Ministry to celebrate Apostle Dr. Dele Joseph on the occasion of his 70th birthday, delivering an exhortation titled Fulfilling the Essence of Life. Reverend Dr. Solomon Udi congratulated the celebrant on attaining the age of 70, describing it as a rare privilege and a season of wisdom, fulfillment, and victory.
That is the joy of life. 70 is the entrance to the elder's age. God has a reason for keeping you alive to fulfill an assignment.
Responding, Apostle Dele Joseph expressed gratitude to God for the gift of life and appreciated family members, friends, and well-wishers for celebrating with him.
As I begin another year of my life, I pray that God will continue to bless, protect, and preserve and prosper us all in the name of Jesus.
The Pillar Drama Crew and Blessed Voices Choir entertained guests while the cutting of the birthday cake by the celebrant alongside his wife and family members highlighted the celebration.
Give me an S! Jesus! Bless God for all he has done for me, making me to see life today.
I'm so glad and grateful to God that today we are alive to celebrate together as husband and wife, not only as husband and wife, as a family.
I pray for him that as he celebrates this year's birthday, more years, more strength to fire on.
My wish for him is for him to live long, for God to keep him strong and healthy for us.
He's a true man of God. We're really proud of him.
From Benin, Ofure Aneta, ITV News.
And that ends the news at this time. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Nuluwapo Stevens. Good morning.
ITV, certainly the best.
To conclude our conversation with Professor Cyril Otohia, is a geneticist and a public health advocate looking at the global pandemics and the challenge of insincerity and politics that has bedeviled the issue of pandemics. Kadri has been waiting to give a shot. I'm sure Kadri is ready now. Okay, so we will just quickly anchor this conversation. Now, what does the future hold for humanity in the face of these pandemics that are just being rolled out? I mean, after every 3 years, after every 4 years, which has given some fillip to the feelings that this thing somehow would just be a smoke screen for a different agenda entirely. And then, of course, you're seeing some sort of manipulation of what we already know in terms of what we eat, in terms of what we drink, in terms of what we inhale by way of breathing, as it were. Give me a final take along those lines.
Yes, in the nearest future, the trend will change. Do you know why? Because there are challenges. We are challenging them one-on-one, which was not in years past. You hardly feel it. So when the people continue to challenge them and tell them that we know the science with which they are trying to deceive us, then their market will start to wither down. It's just marketing. Then they will now discover it's not as business as usual. Then they start packing up. We will continue. See, fear has reduced. If it was before, when they declare hunger, for me to even go close to you will be difficult. We will not shake. We will not hug each other. But now, they declare hunger and nobody was even listening to them. So, when we continue the way we are doing in terms of advocacy, telling the people the secret behind virus business, which ends in production of vaccines. I'll be saying it, that the vaccines are the virus, because the active ingredient in vaccines are all virus. Okay. Good. If we now give the right knowledge to the people, and the people accept the right knowledge and push away fear, then they will have no business to do. Then the gate will be packing up.
Fantastic. It is to talk about a commissioner visiting WHO to have some sort of engagement, and these are supposed to be a plus in terms of public health and engagement and all of that.
Plus, like you have rightly said, in budget, but he is my brother. I want to warn him to be very careful, because all these people, they don't have human beings. You visit them, they can infect you with anything. Because heavy metals is their business, is their childhood materials. So they can use it to touch. Common touch on your shirt can lead to a lot of hazards. So when they travel, I was watching him when he was on several meetings and the other. I was going and say, let them not tell him, do you want to visit the Wuhan lab one day, so that let me just quickly use this opportunity. Anytime they tell him to come to Wuhan lab, he shouldn't go. He shouldn't go to Wuhan lab.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Cyril Toikia. I also want to say big thanks to my colleagues in Abuja Network Studio, talking about Kadri, and of course in Lagos Network Studio, Dr. Victor Ohai and Patricia Gabriels. I mean, driving the conversation this morning with you guys was just so exhilarating, exciting, and I know that we'll continue to do this. Particularly Dr. Ohai, you're welcome to the ITV platform, and we thank you so much for the wealth of knowledge, experience that you're bringing to bear on this platform. Thank you so much. Michelle, you have a parting words before we bring in our next segment, Dr. Ohai.
Yeah, just to say that it's been a good time, and we're looking forward to our quality of guests today. I think we can promise our audience across the network that we'll be bringing very high quality guests and very robust conversations to enrich our viewing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And from Patricia. Patricia, any last word from you?
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. All right, thank you, Patricia, and once again, happy birthday to you. I'm still waiting for my share of the birthday cake and some of the other things that was part of the birthday dinner. Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you so much again for coming on the program. And then Kadri wasn't able to, maybe he's giving attention to other things. Well, we have the TMI socials as our last segment, and we'll be back here in just a moment. Please stay with us.
The man went out to bring in thugs to come and beat her.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, do you think women would have seen that and still want to speak?
Really, we're talking about. That's what I said. So when they bullied her,
Yeah.
now, if she's not bold enough, she will shut up.
What is your advice for girls out there that are so desperate to be married?
We women, we have to be really intentional about our parenting.
If you know a child is being abused, or you see signs, a bruise or a child, it has to be investigated.
People barely even breathe when they are going for a shrebi and something.
Party.
You have to be
They can't
smart.
sit
If
down.
you see where they are dressing them or are dragging on both sides, you cannot you cannot breathe. And these women will stay in those events for hours just to keep up with that beauty trend.
Is that healthy?
That's not healthy.
I am Patricia Uremu Gabriels, and we're reaching you live from our Lagos Network studio. Of course, Women in Conversation is a program designed for women to discuss about
Good morning, welcome. This is TMI Socials. I am Nuoluwa Stevens. A better still call me a social media butterfly. And I'll tell you what, hey football lovers, it's 3 days to the World Cup 2026, and our video of the day is no other than Waving Flag by Can. It was the official promotional anthem for the 2010 FIFA World Cup right there in South Africa. Take a look.
Machine learning system generate text, images, music, and computer code.
Well, amazing. I'm sure a lot of football lovers are looking forward to the World Cup that will be kickstarting this week on the 11th of June. Anyway, back here in Nigeria, a video that has now gone viral. We get to see the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma. He has got social media users talking after a video showing how he struggled with an English word while delivering a lecture at the 38th convocation ceremony of the Federal University of Technology in Owerri, Imo State earlier during the week. It has made rounds on social media. Take a listen to it.
Machine learning system generate text, images, music, and computer code, increasingly indistinguishable from human output. Brain-computer interfaces.
A clear case of nobody is above mistake if the governor could actually falter at that word. But let me see what you've been saying online, because there are those who feel that really you have to have it correctly every time. Now this user says, I love that a woman composure because it can never be me. Another user actually on X wrote this word. It says on Instagram, if we could have another tweet to this video. This one says, just to say indie is something and move on, sir. Well, still on this beat, this user wrote, let's see another tweet on this one. This one says, anyone can make mistake. English isn't our mother language. Even those from England can't speak like others. The governor should have just moved on rather than repeating the word. After all, everyone there had a printed copy of his speech. Now finally, we take another tweet where if we could have the tweet and see the word he was actually trying to pronounce, that would be great. Now this one says he was trying to pronounce indistinguishable but ended up creating a whole new language. Well, it is what it is, as some persons would say. Well, sadly, we got to wrap up to my socials on this note because of the time. But thank you so much for being a part of the show. I am Nuoluwapo Stephen. To see you tomorrow.